What's up, everybody? It's Lee Shushin K9 Training here, back with another raw, uncut Shushin Training obedience session with my 1 year and 10-month-old working line German Shepherd Onyx. So this will just be me doing a voiceover, explaining some of the things that we're working on with him at our Shushin Club. It's March 1st today, but this video took place on February 21st. So just last week at the time of me doing a voiceover for this video. So we just got through cueing him into obedience, so now we are going to be working on his head positioning and healing. And I'm still using the stick here to fix his head position, to help him look up, of course. But he'll be dropping his head at the first step. It's hard for me to notice, but my trainer notices. And right here, we're simulating what would be us greeting the judge in an actual Shushin or BH. Well, actual BH or IGP trial, and as you can see, Onyx keeps dropping his head. So, some things that my Shushin trainer has been telling me a lot is that, at this point, Onyx is about to be 2 years of age, so it's time for us to start adding more firmer corrections, I guess I would say, and add more pressure in training because he's not a puppy no more. So right now, yeah, we're using the healing stick, but later in the future, we could pair the e-collar with the healing stick so he can learn not to touch the stick at all for foraging. And we'll probably get him with the e-collar if he starts dropping his head. So right now we abandon the stick and we move on to the prong. And this was actually February 21st, our last day working healing with me holding the ball over his head. Obviously in an actual Shushin trial, the real picture would be my hand at the side of his head, because I can't hold anything, obviously. So we're going to actually start working that today. In a couple of seconds, we're going to put the ball under our armpit, which will be his first time working something like that because he has to get used to the actual pitcher, an actual healing pitcher. So, but yes, as I was just saying with firmer corrections, that entirely falls on me because I haven't been as consistent with the training as I would have liked, mainly because I get really busy with my work outside of training him. So that has interfered with my consistency in our Shushin training. And everybody gets busy with other life things, but he would have been more further along if I had more time to focus, which I will have more time with that later on. But right here, we're using the prong to add pressure to get him to keep looking up because the stick has done a good job over the past couple months, but that's the whole point of a prong. And of course, everybody will have their own opinions and stuff like that on prongs and should they. Prongs and e-collars, should they be used or they shouldn't be used? And I'm not here for any of those debates. I have a prong. It's just another tool to utilize for your dog, and it's the same thing as using a leash. A leash could be pressure as well, the same way a prong could be. So right now, this is our first time adding the ball under the armpit, and my trainer explained to get my hand on the side of his head so he can get used to that and kind of grab at his jaw a little bit, which I'll do in a few seconds, or I think I'm doing it now. But, kind of scruff him up a little bit. And he was saying use the leash to pop twice or just pop a few times just to get him used to that. I guess you could say just to get him used to that picture, before we even actually start healing. Put him into basic position, put the ball under the armpit, and pop at the prong a couple times just to let him know that he needs to be looking up at all times. When I call him into basic position, he needs to be looking up. When we move, he needs to be looking up. And, for those that might come across this video, just explain a little bit. This isn't normal healing. This isn't normal pet dog healing. This is Shushin IGP style healing. And if you're not aware of what IGP is, it's a working dog sport. And the sport focuses on protection, obedience, and tracking. And in obedience, the dog head has to be up at all times, which is why we're focusing so hard on using the prong to correct him. So right now you can see him a little bit uneasy about it, which is, of course, something to expect because this is his first time doing this. You can see him a little shaky. My hand is usually holding the ball above his head, but he's working his way through the prong corrections, which is what you want your dog to do if you're correcting him with the prong. You don't want them to be discouraged. You want them to be able to handle those prong corrections. That way they can still work through pressure. You don't want a dog to shut down during pressure, so it's a matter of, you know, utilizing the pressure the correct way. And I'm still learning all of that. So, as I said, my trainer said do a couple of leash pops or a couple of prong pops as we're walking. And of course, after practicing it this way for so long, in the future we'll be able to fade the leash and the prong entirely. And you can see him just a little bit uneasy because he's not used to my hand being at the side of his head. And as I said, this video was February 21st. You know, I'm going to be uploading another video later of us working on this. And we also just worked on this again February 28th, which was yesterday at the time of this voiceover. So he's doing a lot better already when it comes to healing with the prong. But it's important. You know, we've been stuck in the process. I mean, we've been stuck with me holding the ball over his head for healing for a long, long while. And that falls back on me. So he's supposed to have been. And it's no time frame or there's no race to this kind of stuff when you're training your dog for shushing. But it's just he would have been further along if I would have been a little bit more consistent. So that's not his fault at all. And he also has to learn to catch the ball with his mouth too. But here we're going to be focusing on our sits and our plots in motion. I take about 10 to 15 steps. I always go with 12 because that's right in the middle. From here, I put him into his sits. And as I said, this video was taken February 21st, so we're actually a little bit further along with this now. My trainer said I have to learn to let Onyx work through these things because, you know, my hand needs to be higher when we're actually walking backwards. Instead, he has his head resting on my hand. So it's almost like I'm luring him. And in a trial, that can be labeled as handler help. So as I just said already a couple of times, this video was taken on February 21st. Now, as of today on March 1st, you know, we're already at the point where we can do this with my hand held higher above his head to where his chin can't actually rest on my hand. And that way he'll actually learn versus me actually guiding him into these positions. You know, he'll be 2 in April. We're doing our plots now, our plots in motion. But he'll be 2 in April, so it's time for me to actually really lock in with him, lock in with our training, utilize the pressure better, and you know, I don't have to be so cautious with things no more because he's not a puppy. You know, I need to start fading all of these lures and all of these tools, which is what my trainer basically told me. So we're still doing, I believe our video is about to wrap up pretty soon. It's going to wrap up with a recall. But yes, we're still doing our, he actually looked away right there. He wasn't supposed to. But we're still doing our plots in motion. You want to start this off backwards with a shushing dog, and of course, after so many reps, you'll eventually do it from a normal foosing position. But you start it off backwards, that way you can be able to view the dog. So right here, this video is getting ready to end. We're going to do our recall and wrap this video up. As I say all the time, I'm usually unable to know when these voiceovers end because it doesn't tell me. So it should be ending in the next few seconds. This was a recall, it was working. And of course, the dog has to be right in front of you for the recall. And this is our recall finish right here. So anyways, catch you guys later.